Welcome to the Texas High School Football Coaches Show on Lone Star Gridiron. I'm Chris Daly, and it's my belief that the men that make up the fraternity of Texas high school football coaches are much more than a bunch of thick-necked guys with whistles. They do so much more than teach technique and the X's and O's of football. They take young boys and change them into young men of character. They get kids to believe in themselves, to trust others, and to put others ahead of themselves. Texas high school football coaches are unique in how they impact the lives of these athletes as well as the generations those kids touch. In this show, I sit down with a different Texas high school football coach each time and learn about them. Not their record, not their on-field accomplishments, but who they are and what they believe and what it means to be part of the greatest sport in the greatest state. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 2 of the Lone Star Gridiron Texas High School Football Coaches Show. Today's guest is head coach Jared Sloan. But before we get to them, I want to tell you about a new product that I believe is a game changer for Texas high school football, Helmet Fit. Helmet Fit is a football helmet maintenance system used to reinflate the bladders on football helmets. Here's how it works. The Helmet Fit pump/app measures and records the air pressure at each inflation point so you have a custom fit for each player. Now, coaches can go into the locker room, grab the helmets ahead of time, automatically recapturing their custom fit without the players being there. It's compatible with all Rydell and Should helmet systems. It saves coaches time. It ensures your players are playing with a properly fitted helmet. And it also can detect if you got broken liners so you can quickly replace them. And it keeps a detailed fit log for every time you fit your player's helmet. Protecting your player, protecting your organization. Check out helmetfit.com for more information. You can follow them on Twitter at helmetfit. But get this, Lone Star Gridiron's offering a promotion just for our listeners. Use the promo code Lone Star, that's 2 words, Lone Star, and you'll receive a 30% discount on this upcoming season. Again, the promo code is Lone Star, 2 words. To use the promo code, go to helmetfit.com and click the tab Get Helmet Fit on their pricing page and type in the promo code Lone Star when filling out your contact information. You're listening to the LSG Sports Network, the authority on Texas high school football.
Hey, did you play Texas high school football? If you did, you're part of an elite group, the Brotherhood of Texas high school football. All football players, past and present, who have ever suited up in the Lone Star State are eligible. Go to LoneStarGridiron.com/brotherhood. And thank you for the part you played in the greatest sport in the greatest state.
All right, everybody, join me in welcoming Coach Jared Sloan to the show. Coach, how are you this morning?
Doing great. Hope everything's going well in your corner of the world, too.
Oh, you know it. I get to talk Texas high school football, so I can't complain, right?
It's always a good thing.
Right. So what we do in this show is we look back to when you played, when you got interested in coaching, and kind of tell us your story, and then stop by stop the positions you've had up to today.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's see. My first stop was Hempstead, Texas. I was a junior high coach there for a year, right out of college. The next couple years, I worked in Pearland ISD as a junior high campus coordinator for Tony Heath, and then I was the 9th grade campus coordinator my last year there. I left from there and went to Kipner in Fort Bend ISD, and I was in Kipner actually for 6 years and worked for 3 different head coaches. Really loved my time there. Was able to move up from a varsity position coach on the defensive side of the ball as a linebackers coach to eventually becoming the defensive coordinator. And I did that for a couple of years. And then in 2012, I moved over to Richmond, George Ranch, and I was a defensive coordinator, assistant head coach there for 3 years under Ricky Tullis when we first started playing varsity football there, and had this crazy idea. I wanted to be an athletic director, head football coach, and the position for that job came open here in Hardin-Jefferson in Sour Lake, Texas, and I've been here since March of 2015, and I'm still here now, and I've really been fortunate to be in some very good places at some very good times and work under some very good head coaches and some very good programs.
Well, cool. Well, I do want to touch on those other coaches, but first, let's back up a little bit further and tell me when you became interested in coaching itself as a profession.
I've known I wanted to be a coach since I was at least 10 or 11 years old, believe it or not. I can remember having a TV in my room as a kid, and I would be sitting I had a roll-top desk, and I would be drawing football plays or drawing defenses at like 10 or 11. I've known since that long. It was just something that always intrigued me. I was always fascinated by the game as a kid growing up. I didn't get to play football actually until 8th grade because I went to a private school and we didn't have it until I moved to public school. And so once I got into public school, I got to finally fulfill that dream of playing the game with pads. I mean, we played in the yard or in the street or any kind of pickup game. But I just didn't play until 8th grade, and loved every moment of it. Playing for 4 years at high school at J. Frank Dobie in Pasadena, Texas, and really was fortunate to know early on what I wanted to do.
Sweet. So now let's go back and talk about those coaches. You kind of ran off a who's who of coaches. So you've got to play with and under, or not play, coach with and under some pretty impressive folks. Talk about some of those and what you learned from each of them.
When I was at Kemner, I worked for 3 different coaches, and Mike Farrell, James Brown, and Darren Andrus. And I took a little bit from each one. From Coach Farrell, I took a little bit about, the time commitment that it takes to be a coach, and the hours. And, you've got to understand that, you're going to have to sacrifice some things to be a solid professional high school coach across the way. From Coach Brown, I took more. I learned the importance of family, as opposed to not really that we didn't have that under Mike Farrell, but, Coach Brown had a lot more different philosophy on families here all the time. I mean, kids are here, and I wasn't married or had kids at the time, but, he was always adamant that we would be in and out and spending our time with our families, but if we need to bring our kids or nieces or nephews to the field house, they could be there. And then, Coach Andrus, Darren, he gave me an opportunity to be a defensive coordinator and taught me really a lot of professionalism in that aspect because it was kind of growing on my own and figuring some things out at a 5A high school. Going to George Ranch, let me go back before that. I apologize. Pearland, I worked for Tony Heath. Yeah. And, you learned a lot of professionalism. You learned a lot about how to reach kids at Pearland under Coach Heath. And, when I was a senior at Dobie, that was his first year at Pearland as the head coach. And it was kind of cool to talk with him sometimes about how I remembered us playing them in high school, and he was the head coach, and he could remember playing against us. And to see somebody really build a program from scratch, and to be able to see that because, when he came into Pearland in the late 90s, they didn't have a real strong tradition. And he turned that completely around into one of the most solid programs in the Houston area, if not the state of Texas. So it was just one of those things that was kind of fortunate for me to be there for a couple of years. And he put a lot of pressure on me, too, to grow. I was 24 years old, and he made me a junior high campus coordinator. He didn't hold back either. When I was 25 years old, he made me the ninth grade campus coordinator. He told me, you have potential, you're going to do this, go to work. And it was, yes, sir, I'm going to do that. And then back to after Kivner being at George Ranch and working for Ricky Tullis, I got to help build a program again. Now, I wasn't there when the school first opened. The school was open actually for 2 years under the previous head coach before Coach Tullis got there. But I was there for the first varsity season. And that was really cool to be able to help build a program and traditions and a mentality and to just see it from the ground up, to be there from square one. And, some things I learned from him is he used to say this phrase all the time. He goes, you got to be able to lay your head down at night. And, I was like, dude, whatever. I don't know what you're talking about. But I figured out what it meant when I got to sit in the chair. You got to do what's best for everybody. And you got to do what's best you can't be a selfish individual. You can't be just caring about one side of the football. You can't just be caring about one kid or one sport. You've got to be visible and vocal and supportive across the board. And I think that's the best thing that I took from him. And when I got here to HJ, try to be as visible and vocal and supportive of all of our sports and make sure they get the support that they need and that they know that if as a coach or as an athlete, if you see me walking by, that it's not always it's not a bad thing. That I'm here to back you up. I'm here to want you to succeed.
Nice. So you kind of touched on a subject that's interesting to me and dear to me is the benefits of paying your dues. You started off as a junior high level, and then that allowed you to grow and mature. If you could talk a little bit about the benefit of that.
Well, the funny thing is I actually was a junior high coach before I was actually a coach. When I graduated high school in 1998, a gentleman by the name of Ben Fortis was my old junior high coach, and he brought me in right out of high school. He got me to work a football camp for 2 weeks, and he paid me $250, and I thought I was rich at 18 with $250. But he basically took a chance on letting me run the off-season program and working my way up from there. And, I think that, one of the things that we really deal with, and probably actually a better word to struggle with in this society now, is a sense of entitlement. People graduate from college, and I'm not disrespecting that they have a degree or that they went to college for X amount of years, but there's been people that have put their time into that job already. I mean, you shouldn't expect to come out of college, or you shouldn't expect to walk in the door and be the boss. Right. You should be working towards now. That should be your ambition. That should be your goals, but that's not what you should be expecting to do right out the gate. It should be something along the lines of, you've got to earn your stripes. You've got to put a little time in. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that we're such an instant gratification society now, mm-hmm. that people don't understand patience anymore. And I'm one of the world's worst at patience. I'm terrible at patience. I think that's a thing all coaches kind of struggle with. Yeah. But, there's nothing wrong with starting out at the junior high. You learn a lot of great things working at a junior high. You deal with kids or on a different basis than you would at the high school. You could probably coach 3 sports. You coach football, basketball, and track. So it kind of gives you a foundation across the board. You should work your way up to being a freshman coach at a high school, and learn how to deal with those kids and learn what the expectations are, continuing, building those foundations that you establish at a junior high position, but now there's a little bit more expectations of you as a freshman coach. And then you work your way into a varsity assistant towards a coordinator, towards the head coach. Right. And I really think that that's how the process should be done. Now, that's not how it's always done, because we are a society of got to move. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes we forget that, though.
Definitely. How would you, just 30,000-foot view, how have you seen the game change during your time?
I think it's more important now to find ways to make sure the game is still as competitive and physical and enjoyable, but being smarter and safer about it. I can remember doing some drills when I was in school that you couldn't do now. But, you could still teach the fundamentals. You just maybe don't have to have a kid line up 10, 15 yards away from each other and run at each other and try to kill each other.
Yep.
You got to be smarter about that. There's more technology out there. There's more teaching tools as far as how to tackle, the Seahawk tackling, where you could teach how to take the head out of tackling. They offer things like the tackling wheels now, which we use to help teach fundamentals and basics. Now, I still think you got to get some pads on pads. You've got to get that work in. And the game's changed so much in the speed of it.
Yeah.
I mean, just playing. It's a full sideline to sideline game, goal line to goal line game, and you got to be able to defend the field all the time because you never know where somebody's going to take an opportunity if you're weak in that area.
Mm-hmm. Right. So. Obviously, winning's important. You have to win to stay coaching. But what would you say is the most important thing about your job, your responsibility as a head coach?
I think, I read a quote by Dabo Sweeney at Clemson. And, I think it kind of personifies to me what coaching is about. Is, you can win all you want, but at the end of the day, what am I doing to make sure these young men and women are good members of society? Am I going to, because I'm accountable for that. 10 years from now, I'm accountable for that. What did I teach them? What values? What standards, ethics, whatever word you want to use to describe it, what did I teach them? I tell our kids, I said, winning football games is great. I said, but 10 years from now, I want to see that you're a good husband, a good father, a good provider for your family, a good employer, if you're the boss, or a good employee if you're just working somewhere. I want you to stop me and tell me what it was like, and what you remember. Because I laugh about with some of my old coaches when I talk to them about some of the stories, and it's great to have that relationship. And I really think that's what this job is about, is relationships and helping them understand that 10 years from now, what you did on this football field or this basketball court or this baseball diamond or whatever sport it is, it's not going to really be the thing that you need to hang your hat on. It's going to be what you learned, not what you did.
Definitely. Coaching as a career, it's got long hours. It's got lots of pressure. Hundreds of people are looking to you for answers. But if somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, why do you do it?" What's a moment or story that comes to mind that explains that?
When I was in junior high, and I was moving from a private school to the junior high that I was going to go to in public school in Pasadena ISD, I remember my mom took me over to meet the coach, Coach Portis, and I just remember him being a great individual. He put a lot of things in perspective for you. It was just one of those things that you knew he had your best interest. He was able to influence you in a positive light, and going forward, those things were going to basically be values that you learned outside of your home that you would be able to use down the road. I was able to play for Stan Labai and Mike Stevens at Dobie, and two great coaches, and two coaches that have helped me tremendously as I got into the coaching arena as far as a career. But, they developed relationships. They had your back. they took care of you. I mean, now if you were a knucklehead and made a mistake, they dang sure let you know about it. And you took care of your business with them, but they developed that relationship that you knew it's okay. I screwed up. I'm a kid. I made a mistake. But they still love me. They still have my back. They're still going to be here tomorrow when I show back up again.
Nice. So you obviously have a lot of years left in your career. You're not, I've interviewed guys that their career's over and they're retired, but what do you have left for goals that you want to accomplish?
I know when I got into this business, I think we all sit down and we kind of try to establish a timeline. Mm-hmm. And I remember telling myself, okay, I want to be a varsity coach by this age, and I want to be a coordinator by this age. I want to be a head coach by this age. And I've been blessed to really accomplish all of those goals to this point. I'm not really I've got to be at a bigger school kind of person. I'm not a person that, I guess every coach would say, I want to win a state championship. Well, heck yeah, we all do. I mean, that's why we start the season in August and try to play till December. But that's not the real goal. I think, honestly, Chris, my goals are really just to continue to develop as a coach and a leader, and to try to make sure that we're molding young men and women to be great contributors to society. I'd like to win some games along the way. Who wouldn't? But that's not really the ultimate goal. It's to be remembered when they talk about you, they want to talk about what you did outside of football, not necessarily just what you did on the field. It's easy. That's great. They remember the games, but do they remember something that you taught them as a life lesson?
Definitely. I played at a small 2A school, and it seems like I've spent most of my life living in small school districts. Talk a little bit about that appeal of the small school versus, the Allens or the Katie's of the world.
It's a cool feeling to walk into a little restaurant here in town on Thursdays. Thursday afternoons, once we finish with walkthrough and team meetings before our junior high or JV games, I always go grab something to eat here in town. And it's a cool feeling to walk in and have the people there kind of recognize you or know you just by when you walk in. I'm sure they're not always saying the best things about you behind your back because, hey, you know how it is in the stands. But they're not all that way, and I'm just joking. But it's a great feeling to walk in to a smaller environment and be able to have that relationship, that people can know who you are at the drop of a hat. You talked about I probably got a lot of years left. I do. I've got 3 daughters. My oldest is 4, and I got twins that are about to be 2. So I'm working for as long as I have to, I guess. But it's an even cool. To be honest with you, I'll tell you what even is a cooler feeling than the walking into the restaurant and having lunch, and is my daughter walking with me on Friday night after a game, mm-hmm. and everybody in the town knows who my daughter is.
Yeah.
And they know that's Coach Sloan's daughter. That's his oldest daughter. And just that's a cool feeling.
Definitely, and when she gets older, they'll know not to mess with her.
You're darn right. But I got a feeling she's gonna take care of herself. Trust me.
Nice.
She's a little feisty.
Excellent. Cool. Well, Coach Sloan, I want to thank you for sitting down with me, sharing a little bit of your time and some of your story.
Well, I appreciate your call and the opportunity, and I appreciate what you do for Texas high school football.
Cool. Thank you. You're listening to the LSG Sports Network, the authority on Texas high school football.
This show is brought to you by the book, All I Need to Know I Learned from My Texas High School Football Coach, a handbook of wisdom for parents, young people, and yes, even coaches. Head over to www.learnedfromcoach.com and order your copy to support sharing the stories of these great coaches and leaders. That's learnedfromcoach.com.
Hey coaches, we want to tell your story as well. So get in touch with us and we'll schedule a time to record your interview so we can add your history, your insight to what we hope will be an amazing collection of wit and wisdom from Texas high school football coaches.
LoneStarGridiron.com. Access the complete history of Texas high school football, over 100 years of information, win-loss records, coaching histories, individual stats, records, and more. Lone Star Gridiron, the authority on Texas high school football.